Here we go. So I teach online classes, and I'm supposed to record my class because a lot of times students won't. There'll be students who miss the class, and I have a student in one of my classes who every single week has to remind me, don't forget to record the class. Thank you.
Well, it would have been horrible if you'd gone halfway through and then one of us would, oh, it's not recording.
Oh yeah, I've done that in fortunately the class that I teach to my students, I teach the same class 3 times. So if I miss recording a class, it's not lost because I will record one of the other 2. Anyway, so we're going to talk about element 12, optimizing your success in reaching a healthy weight. And mostly in here, he's I love, he says he's clarifying some important guidelines, describing why the system works the way that it does. And he says, start using a checklist for success, which really is more in element 13 than element 12. But I love that he takes the time here to go over some of the areas in the program that I think a lot of people tend to be the most frustrated about. And he really does give some good explanations as to why the program is the way that it is, why there are things that you can't have, or you have to have, or you can't do, why those things are the way they are, and why that's so important. And as most people who have been on the program for any length of time, you can't have fruit. And he is so absolutely clear that it is, mainly it's just because it is high in carbohydrates. And I love the illustrations that he uses on 270 or 232. We'll get there in just a second, but a couple of things that I marked. Fruit is an amazing source of nutrients, antioxidants, and many other optimally healthy compounds. In the future, beyond phase 1, a healthy consumption of fruit will actually help you maintain your healthy weight as a key component of our healthy eating system. And I wrote in there, all in good time, right? There are some things that sometimes we just have to push them to the side for a little bit, and then it is something that will come back. My recommendation for people who are struggling with missing fruit, maybe it's the sweetness, also part of the flavor. I would say, choose some of the fruity bars, the blueberry biscuits, something that is along those fruity lines. The other thing you can do is get herbal tea. Like a herbal tea, like a hibiscus, or like the red zinger, or something that is kind of fruity based, and have, you can have herbal tea it has no caffeine, it has no calories. We read the last time about water. Herbal tea is one of those things that is the okay for hydration, right? So I would say it would count the same as water. It is basically water. It's leaf water. So it says in that section on water that tea is one of those healthy hydration things. So I would say definitely try something like that, and hopefully that will help. I also love what he says, and this is really important. Whether you are using the prepackaged fuelings or preparing all your fuelings on your own, and there are people who do this, but remember that list that is in the book has a lot of fruit on it, and those, while you're trying to lose weight, those fuelings you should avoid. So because of the amount of carbohydrates, and this can take you out of fat burning state, which we are relying on to remove your excess visceral fat. We have turned off the insulin pump by specifically avoiding excessive carbohydrates. And as a result, the body is using fat as its fuel source. And we want to burn fat. We don't want to burn carbs. So if we're putting extra carbs in our body, I don't know if you've seen that video. I love to share that video when people talk about getting into fat burn. There's that video that woman did with the little marbles. And she talks about, just like what your body eats, and your body loves those, your glycogen, that's the first thing that goes, right? And then the next thing is those free carbs, and your body just, if there are carbohydrates for your body to burn, it will burn the carbohydrates. And if that's all the energy that it needs to expend, then everything else you eat goes into your fat cells. No thanks. Right. And this is where if you look at the images on 232, it's kind of where it explains, if you're eating a low calorie healthy fueling, then the insulin is not turned on and your body burns fat. If you put in higher calorie, higher carbohydrate foods into your body, then the insulin pump is turned on and you will store all that food as fat. And you don't want to do that, right? This is where I wrote a little note here, and so I'm going to say it here, and I might say it again later. Those of you who have been around for a while, who know me, and this is Lizabeth, this is not Optavia right here. Lizabeth did the program, me, 100% exactly as the guide said. And I made all of my fuelings with only water. I never added anything to any fueling, not one time in 67 weeks, right? That's a lot of fuelings, right? That's over 3,000 fuelings. I don't know. That was a lot. No, that was 67 weeks, not 67 days. Anyway, it was a lot of fuelings, never added anything. And this is why. This right here is exactly why. When you give your body more to burn, those fuelings are scientifically planned with the right amount of calories, the right amount of carbs, fat, protein, for you to go from 7 o'clock when you have that first fueling to 9:30 when you have the next one, burn that fueling off and still burn some fat. And that's what you want. You want it to burn fat. If you add something to your fueling, you add syrups and whipped cream and almond milk and whatever it is that people are adding to their fuelings, you're giving your body more to burn through, so it doesn't get to burn fat. That's the way my brain sees it. Maybe I'm wrong, but it worked for me. And I strongly encourage people, if you are struggling, if you feel like your weight loss has slowed, or you feel like, oh, I only lost 0.2 of a pound, I feel I'm doing everything, I'm just eating fuelings, whatever, I would say tighten it up and make sure that you're making fuelings only with water. Make sure that you are eating the lowest carb vegetables, the leanest proteins, that you're limiting your condiments, that, if you don't need the 3 condiments, don't use the 3 condiments. Those are optional. And the fewer carbs you can put into your body, the more fat you're going to burn. So that's just my recommendation of where I'm come from. And when I see this illustration here, that just seems to really bolster the idea that I'm right. I don't know, maybe I'm not, we'll see. And then, but he goes on to say, once you've reached your healthy weight and we've eliminated all the excessive healthy fat, so that's all the more reason to stick to fat burn as much as you can. We recommend you fill 1/4 of your plate with fruit at every healthy meal you have. And that's exciting. 1/4 of your plate, that's a lot of fruit. I eat fruit usually 2 to 3 times a day. So usually my first 2 fuelings in the morning have fruit. And then sometimes my mid-afternoon fueling has fruit or vegetables, kind of go back and forth. I've been loving having an apple with some almond butter So that's one thing that I like to do a lot. As you're settling into phase 1, it's important to do a review to make sure that you are not accidentally consuming a hidden carbohydrate source. This can slow down or even stop your weight loss now or in the future. And boom, that's just another little proof that what I think is actually right. And on the next page, he talks about the things that you should check to make sure you're not accidentally getting carbohydrates that you didn't realize. Toothpaste and mouthwash, like, isn't that interesting that we don't think about, but your body does absorb through your mouthwash or your toothpaste, just kind of like paying attention to that. Coffee creamers or sweeteners that you use, your vitamins. I don't know how many times somebody on a group has said, I can't figure out why I'm not losing weight. And I'll say, do you take supplements? Yes. Well, are they gummy supplements? Yes. Stop taking gummy supplements. Gummy supplements are made with sugar. And it's all carbohydrates. Stop taking them. Take pills that you can swallow, or but stop with the gummies. They may taste wonderful, but they're not helpful to you, clearly. Again, careful with the condiments. Gum, candy, and breath mints we shouldn't really be doing anyway, unless you're using that as your optional snack. But just, be very, very careful with anything that you add to your day. Can you add condiments to your fuelings and lose weight? Sure, I'm sure there are a lot of people that do. But if you are struggling, and that's where my point of view comes in, if you are struggling, that should be one of the first things that you stop doing, is stop making your fuelings, stop adding things to your fuelings, and just use water, which was the reason why I started the whole Fun with Fuelings thing and started combining 2 fuelings together and doing something, because it prevents boredom, that taste boredom where you're like, I eat that brownie every single night, I'm really getting bored with the brownie. Well, mix it with a peanut butter shake and make 2 peanut butter chocolate brownies, and that changes up the flavor. Or, like, there are things that you can do so that you don't get bored with eating the same thing over and over again. But as I said, watch for those hidden carbohydrates, because the carbohydrates are the things that, we do need to have carbohydrates, but we also need to make sure that we're eliminating as many as we can, and we're just really careful. The next thing he talks about exercise, and he says no or reduced exercise during the first 3 weeks. And that is so counterintuitive to what we've been taught, that we should exercise more. And he says, kind of like most of the way down the page, since we're dropping your daily calorie intake, if we do not go slow, there's a chance that you will become hypoglycemic and not feel very well. In addition, if you create this state, the body releases hormones such as cortisol and epinephrine, which may actually slow down your weight loss. So, he says you have to go slow. And I think it really depends on how much you have to lose. I had 160 pounds to lose. And for me, who was a sedentary person to begin with, trying to add exercise, I think that's exactly what happened, because every time I would try to add in exercise, my weight loss would completely stall. And the next week I'd stop exercise, and the next week I'd be right back to losing again. So I think you have to really pay attention. If you're going to add exercise back in, that you take it very, very slowly, that you try doing very small amounts, adding steps back in like 50, increase your steps 1 week by 50 a day, and then maybe in another week or 2, increase it by another 50. Go very slowly and listen to your body. Pay attention to what's happening with your weight loss. He also says, if you have a great deal of weight to lose, a sudden increase in exercise places a high level of stress on your musculoskeletal system. We encourage you to wait until you have lost weight and have begun to improve your stamina. Exercise clearly is very important. I'm going to hop over to the Habits of Health book in just a minute. There is I guess what I'm saying is you just really have to pay attention to your body, and not everybody is going to respond the same way. I think it depends on your background, how much exercise you have been doing traditionally, or even on as a young person. It depends on your age, how much you have to lose. I mean, there are just so many factors to pay attention to. So, exercise is important, movement is important. And when you go over to Habits of Health, he talks about the difference between physical activity and exercise, or is that what he says? I think physical activity and exercise or something like that. It's increasing your activity level with exercise is the ultimate, if not immediate goal, is essential to disease prevention and optimal health. But exactly what that means day to day is different for everyone. I love that, and I'm going to kind of go back and forth. He gives a little story in the life book about helping a group of women at a local gym and telling them that they needed to stop. They need to back off exercising for the first 3 weeks because he was basically doing fuelings with them. And a lot of them were kind of not really happy with that. And so he asked them how long they'd been at the gym. And on average, they had been there for 2 years. He asked them how long ago they started and how much weight they had lost. Most of them had lost a few pounds in a couple of years, but had put the weight back on. So what does that tell you about going to the gym is not enough? Like there's so much more. And he goes further. If you don't have Habits of Health, like I really recommend that. Section 2.9 is kind of not 9, 10, 11, and 12. All talk about exercise. I'm only going to talk about 2.9 today. 10, 11, and 12 will kind of get worked in when we cover the later elements down the road. But I love that he says, I'm still in LifeBook. It is virtually impossible to lose weight consistently with exercise alone without diet modification. In fact, when women work out, they experience what is called compensation, a state where you become so hungry that you have a tendency to eat more to make up for the calorie deficit. This explains why, despite their diligence, they were not losing weight as desired. So, I loved that illustration and that line of, we as women release some weird hormone that makes us fatter when we exercise. We want to eat more. Like, what is up with that? Why? That's just women. Men can just want to lose weight and they lose 20 pounds. And we have to put in so much effort. But anyway, at the center of my plan, he says, this is over in Habits of Health, is getting you to move your body like you did when you were a kid. I'm not sure that's ever going to happen. I was a cheerleader and you're not going to see me doing that now. But he says, I'm going to be focusing on 2 major objectives: stabilizing your weight by increasing your energy expenditure, primarily through physical activity, and optimizing your health through carefully paced exercise. Now, this section really is geared more towards somebody who is in maintenance than weight loss, because most of the time they want you to really be careful about how much actual physical exercise you get. So kind of keep that in mind. And I'm not going to read everything, just a couple of things that kind of jumped out at me. One big difference between exercise and physical activity is that exercise is generally done for a short period of time, usually just a few hours a week. However, physical activity can be integrated into your daily life in a much more organic and complete manner. So finding ways through your, basically through your daily activities. He talks about as he was writing, he said, as I'm writing, for example, I'm tapping my foot in time to music. That's movement that he's getting. And you wouldn't think of, well, tapping your foot, but yeah, like intentionally moving your body instead of just sitting on the couch, not doing anything, swing your leg, tap your foot, do something to, when you talk, use your hands to get some movement going. So I thought that was really interesting. Beginning at age 20, we lose a pound of muscle a year. Each pound of muscle consumes around 50 to 70 calories a day. Fat, on the other hand, consumes much less energy, less than 10% of the energy that muscle uses. That means as we lose muscle over the years, our energy expenditures decrease. And when energy expenditure decreases, our accumulation of fat increases. This is why the loss of muscle mass and muscle strength, known as sarcopenia of aging, is linked to pre-obesity and obesity and contributes to a decrease in both BMR and PAL, which he talks about later. But, working to make sure that you're increasing muscle instead of just letting it deteriorate is really important. I'm not going to cover anything else in there, but I would say definitely read that section in conjunction with this particular element. It's very interesting, the concepts that he has that relate to how our body burns and how we can get in movement. So that's kind of it on that one. The next one is another really big one. Why am I eating fuelings versus whole food? And people talk about, oh, it's processed foods and it's so bad for you and shouldn't be eating processed foods. And first of all, I will say, if you actually read the ingredients in the fuelings, it's real food. Yes, it's processed, but there, aside from the vitamins and minerals that are added, there are no preservatives. Which is why if you make a fueling ahead of time, you need to eat it within 24 hours or put it in the fridge or freezer, because otherwise it will spoil. There are no preservatives. They use real sugar, honey, real wheat, real corn, real, like everything in there is real. There's real raisins in the raisin bar. There's, it's not chemical. There's no artificial sweeteners. They use stevia, monk fruit, real sugar, honey, but they don't use sucralose. They don't. And if you look at some of those other diet bars, for example, almost all of them use sucralose, and sucralose is not good for you. Now, granted, I love the Bear Bells protein bars. They're the best. It's like literally like eating a candy bar. And they're made with sucralose, but I have maybe one of those a week. It's not something that I do on a daily basis. I stopped the 100-calorie oats. I'm now just doing straight up oats, so that the sucralose from that is gone. Like just trying to eliminate those fake things from your diet. But fuelings, whole foods are better. And he says, yes, whole foods are better, and we will get there. But the whole purpose of using the fuelings is so that you don't have to calculate, you don't have to measure, you don't have to go to the grocery store and buy a bunch of different ingredients and weigh things out and measure things out for every single meal. You only have to do that for your lean and green meal. And the fuelings themselves are not unhealthy. They're decent, and they're giving you the protein, the fat, the calories, the carbs, the vitamins, the minerals, the probiotic that you need so that you can sustain this weight loss. Somebody said in the newbies group earlier today, I have no idea if this is going to be sustainable. It is sustainable. Trust me. If you ever wonder if this is sustainable for a long period of time, yes, I did it for 67 weeks and it is entirely possible. And I know there are people who have done it much longer than I have. But anyway, as he says in the book, we're going to use our 5 fuelings along with a healthy, lean, and green as a plan because they are easy, cost-effective, and safe way to start gaining health by losing weight. As you feel better, have more energy, and are sleeping better, you will start building the confidence in our system, in me, in your coach, and in yourself. That creates the teachable moment where your motivation is higher and you are willing to go to work to learn the other necessary habits. That was one of the reasons why I posted on the newbies group today. What are you willing to do? What are you willing to give up to get to your goal? Where is your commitment level? And that's, that goes back to element 2, I think, is, how badly do you want this? And is this something that you want? Is losing weight, is getting healthy something that you want more than anything else? Are you willing to give up and say, I'm done with bread most of the time. I'm done with fried foods. I'm done with those things that were not kind to me. And I'm willing to give those up. And I'm not, and I will say I have given those things up. They are not ever going to be a regular part of my life. And I'm willing to do that because I know what they did to me. And I don't want to go back there. I won't go back there. So we start off by using fuelings in the 5-in-1 plans to help you reach a healthy weight, which is the most important factor in our health. And then we teach you a series of micro habits, how to choose correctly at both the store and restaurants, which we talked about a couple of times ago, and have full command over your weight management. You're eating whole foods when it makes sense. And, just kind of leaning into the fuelings and trusting the system, trust the program because it works if you trust it. And if you are kind of like, I'll do that sometimes, but I still got to have, then you may sacrifice how quickly you lose weight. And you have to decide, is that worth it to you? Is it worth it to you to slow down so that you can have your vodka tonic, or you can have your chips and salsa, or you can have your, whatever? You have to decide that. Any thoughts on anything so far?
No, not here.
I love the checklist too. He gives a great checklist of keys to success. Don't skip meals, even if you're not hungry. Eat. And there are times where it was really hard, especially at the end of the day. If I had had a lean and green that was like a leanest and lots of greens, like Lisa eats that way all the time. I don't know how she does it, but she does like shrimp and like all these leafy things. And I'm like, when I did those meals, I was so full that when it came time for my last fueling, I had to force myself to eat it. I was just like, I'm not at all hungry, but I know I need the calories. I know I need the nutrients. Because you can stall your weight loss if you don't give your body enough, and you're already very restrictive on the amount of calories that you get. You're really giving your body almost the bare minimum to be able to function properly. If you go below that, your body's going to go into starvation and you won't lose weight. So that's really important. Eat slowly. That's a really big thing for me, is learning how I don't eat slowly, and I need to learn to slow down when I eat. Stay busy and avoid sights and smells that remind you of food. and I think that's really important is, stay away from the places that are going to breed temptation for you. When I would go to the grocery store, and still, I still shop this way anyway, stick to the outside aisles, except the bakery, and avoid those inner aisles because most of the stuff on the inside aisles are things you don't need. So just avoid those temptations, and then you're not walking past the chips and the cookies and the cereal and any whatever else it is, that the ice cream, all those kinds of things. Use your support system. I can't tell you how important it is to remember that the Optavia plan, for it to work, you need to work the entire plan. And I say this almost every time. There are 4 parts to Optavia. The feelings is just one part. Your coach is a huge part, or should be a huge part. You should be able to talk to your coach. I don't talk to all of my clients every single week. Number one, because I'm a terrible coach. But number two, a lot of them don't need to talk to me every week. Some of them are like, I just watch your YouTube videos and that's all I need, or I just hear from you through Facebook and that's all I need. And that's great. I'm fine with that. And there are a lot of people who don't need the hand holding, but do have a coach that you can talk to, that that's there if you need something, because it really is an important element. Plus, you can't order feelings if you don't have a coach. That having the life book and coming and doing this Habits of Health life book, this is really important. I had somebody sent me, and she'll probably watch the recording of this anyway, so I won't use her name, but she sent me a link to some life book videos, and I was like, and so I watched them, and I was like, these are like professional, like some lady in her nice little office with her hair done and her makeup, and they've got speakers, and she gets on and she talks, and I'm like, oh gosh, like I'm just me. Like I'm just Lizabeth, and I, don't wear makeup, and my hair's up in a messy bun, and my bed's unmade, and so you
Some
get.
people though, I think, knowing they're going to be on camera or whatever, they like to get all dressed up and everything for the world to see.
I never wear makeup. So that's right. Like I've got stretchy overalls on, and I'm comfy, and
Yeah.
my hair, it just it is what it is. You guys get the real me every time. Like I'm just not ever going to put on airs. And those videos are great, and I think you should watch all of the videos that you can. You should listen to all of the Zoom calls and audio talks and everything that you can get your hands on to help you to understand the elements. I think that's a very key feature, and community. This right here.
Definitely.
Together, getting together with other people, participating in Facebook if you're comfortable with that, but having a group of people that you can share with, that you can not only share when you're struggling or when you're celebrating, but that you can also support when somebody else is struggling or needs to celebrate. So, community is so important. I tell you, every time we do this, I really look forward to just coming and chatting, because community is a huge factor. And knowing that there were people when I started, and if you actually are like my Facebook friend, I have a pinned post on my personal Lizabeth Facebook page that I wrote a week after I started Optavia, and it starts out, "This is for me, not for you." And basically said, I'm doing this. Don't tell me that I shouldn't do it. Don't tell me about the program you're doing, because that's not why I'm doing it. I am holding myself accountable for me, and not for other people. And that's why I did reality checks. That's why I started the YouTube channel. That's why I got involved in Facebook and social media. That's why I did it, because that accountability, that having a group of people that I could just stand there and say, this is where I am. This is how I did. This is what I'm struggling with. This is what I'm learning. Like, that has been a huge key to, I think, my ability to be successful with the program. So do make sure that you're connecting with a community as much as you can. And doing this is important. Limit caffeine to no more than 3 servings per day, and that's caffeine from any source. So if you're doing the little burners, the little calorie burners from Optavia, that's caffeine. If you're doing coffee or black tea or green tea, if that's got caffeine in it, just be careful that you're limiting that to no more than 3 servings a day. And I would also say it's probably better to do it earlier in the day rather than later, so it's not disrupting your sleep. Avoid alcohol.
I got a question, Elizabeth.
Sure.
Sorry.
No,
some of the fuelings have caffeine in them. So how are some people to keep track of all their caffeine intake if some of the fuelings have caffeine?
That's a good question. My understanding is you're supposed to limit yourself to 300 milligrams of caffeine a day, but that's not like a hard and fast, like it's not written in the guide. It's like, I think it's kind of probably in habits of health. I don't know the answer to that. I think it would be great to.
I don't expect you. It's just, something that I've thought about.
As I say to my students, that's a really good question. I don't know the answer to that. I can look into it and see what I can find out. Because
I'm one that drinks 1 cup of coffee a day, but that's 12 ounces. It's not a little 6 or 8 ounce. But on an occasion that I don't get enough sleep the night before, I might have 2 of those cups. But then I start thinking, I'm like, well, what if I want a cappuccino? Or what if some of the other fuelings that have the caffeine in it? What if I wanted to have one of those?
The frothy cappuccino, and I think maybe the shake. What's the shake? The
mocha, maybe.
The mocha shake, maybe. There's 2 of them that have on the higher end, not like high caffeine in them, but they've got more caffeine than the others. Like the chocolate pudding probably has some caffeine because there's chocolate in there, but not like it's a negligible amount. I'd have to look on that the product claim sheet to see, because it'll tell you on that product claim sheet how many milligrams of caffeine are in any of the fuelings. And so you can kind of look at that and go, oh, I've already had 3 cups of coffee today. Maybe I shouldn't have a frothy cappuccino before I go to bed.
Yeah, I'm just with the people that do have the 2 and 3 cups every single day, that might be an issue for something like that.
And if they are struggling with their weight loss slowing, that would be definitely something to look at, is can you back off on the caffeine?
Right.
Yeah. Avoid alcohol, causes dehydration, throws you out of fat burning, and it's a powerful appetite stimulant. So if for no other reason than that, but you're not supposed to drink while you're on 5-1 anyway, although I did find out, and I won't post this, I won't say this on any of the Facebook groups, but the carb-free alcohols are, as long as there's no carbs and no calories, you can actually have them. So there's that. But I'm not going to advocate anybody drinking. Once you're in maintenance, then you can have your glass of wine.
Right.
If you were my client, I would say just don't. Just create a new habit and just say that's going to be waiting for me when I get there. And honestly, if you can't go for 6 months, 10 months without a drink, then food is probably not your biggest problem. That, you know, like if you can't say no to alcohol, that's a problem that needs to be addressed. And no diet is going to help you deal with why you feel that you cannot live without alcohol. And that would be the same way with anything. Why can't you live without cigarettes? Why can't you live without chocolate? Why can't you live without, you know, whatever it is? If you have an addiction to something, there's a reason for that, and you need to address that. So, oh, product claim sheets. Thanks, Patty. She put that in the chat if you want a link to the product claim sheet. You guys are so good at doing that for me.
Oh, thank you.
If you slip up, just get right back on track. But remember, it will take about 2 to 3 days after a slip up to get back into a fat burning state. Talked about that before. You know, they say up to 5 days. That's a lot of fuelings. That's 5 days. If you do like a really big slip up and it takes you 5 days to get back into fat burn, that's 25 fuelings. Do you realize that's almost 4 boxes of fuelings? That's almost $100. So if you go out to eat and you have, you know, apple pie a la mode with caramel sauce and whipped cream, and you really throw yourself out of fat burn, is that piece of apple pie worth $100 to you?
No.
Not to me.
It's not worth going out of fat burn either for me.
No, it's not, because you know how miserable you feel while you're trying to get into fat burn. It's not a lot of fun. How long you stay in phase 1 depends primarily on how much weight you have to lose and how long you take to lose it. And that brings us right to that. My favorite illustration of all time is, which would you rather do? My daughter lives in Portland, Oregon. And if I want to go visit Allie in Portland, I have a choice. I can get in a car and I can take 3 to 5 days, because literally we've driven, it's probably would take a good 4 days, 5 days to drive that far, because I'd have to stop. Or I can get on a plane and I can be there in 6, 7, 8 hours, something like that, with layovers. Which would I rather do? Of course, I'd rather pay the extra money and get on an airplane and fly out there and be able to spend the time with her instead of driving in a car. This program is the exact same way. If you follow the program the way it is written, you eat your 5 fuelings, make it with water. You eat your lean and green, you weigh your leans and your greens, you measure your condiments, you eat your healthy fats, you drink all of your water, you limit your movement, you get the sleep that you need. That's like taking an airplane trip. When you start messing with things and you step away from the plan for the weekend, or you say, oh, well, I'm just going to add a little bit of this today. I'm going to do this a little bit differently. Now you're getting into the car. You've gotten off the airplane and you're getting in the car and you're slowing it down. So will you lose weight doing that? Sure. You'll still get to your destination, but you're not going to get there in the same amount of time. So how long you stay in weight loss is completely up to you. The power is yours. And it's not the food's power. It's not the program's power. It's not your significant other's power. It is nobody else's power but yours. You decide what goes into your mouth. You decide how you're going to follow the program. So, airplane, car trip, maybe a little bit of both, but own it, right? I've said that before too. If you make the decision to have that apple pie a la mode, own it. Okay, you did it. So, all right, now you've got to live with the consequences. You've got to get back into fat burn. Okay, don't beat yourself up about it. Just say, I did this. I made this choice, and now we're moving on. So, it's all in how you. It's all up here. It is all up here. And I love at the very end of 12, and I'm really not going to spend much time on 13 other than tell you a couple of things really quickly. I love on page 245 where he says, and since the goal is to get just 1% better each day. Whew, that's not very much. 1% is just a tiny bit. You just have to improve a little every day. We need to evaluate, track, and make adjustments to get just a touch better each day. Sorry, my computer glasses are not good for reading. And if we are not, then explore why and amp up your support and maybe ratchet down the size of your micro habits. So it is, if you're not making daily improvements, take a step back and look at why you're not improving. As I said, the power is yours. It is in your hands. You have the ability to improve. Nobody else is going to do it for you. Element 13 talks about tracking, keeping daily records. Back before the current Optavia app, there was a Habits of Health app. There is still a Habits of Health website. You can still find it. And if you go to habitsofhealth.com/system-resources, you can print out daily, weekly, and monthly logs, which are things that so if you're a paper and pen person and you want to be able to track every day and you want to have some type of a tracker and you don't just want to keep it in a notebook, that is an option right there. He does talk about the importance of record keeping track, however you choose to do it. I am more of a planner than a tracker. And so I pre-planned everything. So you all saw or most of you probably have seen my weekly menu plans. And they listed all of my feelings that I was having and my lean and green, and I would do those for a whole week, and then I would grocery shop off of that. So I would always plan ahead. And then the only way I tracked was I just used the EatWise app to track. I still use that one. Every time I eat, I just keep track of it that way. But I had already written everything down. Now I use the Prosper app to log all of my food. So I kind of am tracking in a couple of different ways and doing things a little bit differently. But having that checklist, that log is really important for keeping you on track. And if you're struggling at all, I would question, are you planning? Are you tracking and logging? And those are really, really important. On page 253, says, again, taking full responsibility for yourself is the one thing that you must do that no one else can do for you. You must own what you eat, how you move, how you sleep, and how you handle stress by integrating your mind. You cannot delegate your eating, moving, sleeping, and emotional management to the grocery stores, restaurants, government, or medical system, or anybody else, right? You have to own it. So this is all on you. And you have to decide. The rest of that element there is just basically copies of the tracker pages, so you can kind of see what they're like. But I just would really encourage you, as you read through these two elements, that you just really focus on what's going on, between your ears, your mental focus on why you're doing what you're doing, how badly do you want it, what's your commitment level, what are you willing to sacrifice, and taking that responsibility and realizing this is you. This is nobody else made you the way that you are. Your choices were what caused you to be overweight and caused you to need to lose weight. So I'm done. That's what I got. Any questions?
Oh, what, 2 minutes for element 13?
Yeah, I told you, it really was, really basically what it is just it's almost all fill in the blank. There's the first
Yes.
4 pages that are in red.
Yes.
Really encourage you to read those, highlight them, take notes, because I pulled out a few things and read you a few things right there, but the biggest thing is planning, tracking and planning is really important, and taking personal responsibility.
Definitely.
Does
I know
that-
the first couple of pages of element 13, I've highlighted and starred a few of the paragraphs.
Yeah. Anything in particular that jumps out at you?
That's just for me in the future if I ever go back.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a good tracker. I wish I could do the planning like you do. It's just not in me now. When my kids were little, I did, but for grocery shopping and stuff. But I'd rather track it day by day. So no, I've just got a lot of stars and highlights the first 2 pages.
Okay. I loved on 252 where he says, talks about how, the importance of tracking. He says that way we can assess how you actually performed, celebrate your wins, and assess your mess ups. You will have them as humans, we all do. So we can adjust and pick up ways to get better. It's not about perfect. It's all about being open, curious about how to improve, and growing. And I think that's so true. It's like I know I was an odd one. Most people do not do the program the way I do it. I get that. Like, I totally understand that. I don't know why I was able to do a perfect program. Like, that it just worked for me. It clicked for me. And I was not willing to take even one step, one toe off the path. I wasn't willing to do that. I was spending too much money, and it was too much work to even step away for a little bit. So I didn't. But I realized that not everybody does it that way. And that's where having support, having a good coach, having a community that you can come to and say, I'm really struggling today, or I had a really bad weekend, and I don't know what I did or why I did what I did. I just need some support. And that's the importance of community and having so many people who can give their input. You may not agree with everybody, but you'll find somebody that you connect with. You'll find some people that will give you advice that is helpful to you. Not everybody will be helpful, and that's all right. We all have our own opinions. We all come from different places and see things from a different way. So, matter of fact, when I had shared that post about Ozempic a couple of weeks last week, and a woman who is she's actually a nurse. She works dialysis nurse or something like that. And she talked about how, these drugs are important for people who are diabetic, but they are also important for people who are obese. There are people who need to have this drug. And we shouldn't be shaming people who actually need to take the drug. And I didn't, my post was not, I don't think anything in my post was shaming people. It was just, you need to stop and think before you jump on this bandwagon. Do your research and make sure you understand that if you use this drug to lose weight, you're going to have to stay on this drug to keep the weight off, or you're going to have to do some serious changes to your lifestyle. Why not just change your lifestyle? That's what I'm thinking. But I mean, I realize there are people who need the drug. So, but her perspective, like, she gave me a different perspective. And that's what I love about the community, is that sometimes people will say things I'm like, I never really thought about it that way. So
Also about you asking about why people post as anonymous members. Why do that?
I just am curious, like, was it because like I know who they are, because as the admin for the group, I can look and see who asked the question. So you're not completely anonymous.
Right.
But I'm just wondering, like, are they afraid? Like, do people post anonymously because they don't want their next door neighbor, who's their friend on Facebook, to see? Well, their next door neighbor, unless their next door neighbor is a Optavia Newbies member, they won't see it because the group is completely private. So you can't, if you're not a member, you can't, you can see that there is a group, but you can't see any posts of the group unless you're a member. So that was kind of why I was wondering was, is that the
That was interesting to me too, because I was curious as well. So it's just different people giving their opinions as well. And some of it makes sense, but it's a good learning curve because sometimes our minds are just like this. And with my husband, he's a lot of the times out of the box and he will help me to see other directions. That's important too. That's how we learn.
For sure. Yep.
A question about the Prosper app, please.
Sure.
I know I'm not on there yet, but does it keep your daily like for months or weeks, or does it restart every day just like the Eatwise app does?
You can go back and look at previous days. So I can go back. It's kind of like at the top of this is my thing for today. At the very top, there's the date. So I can select a date and I can go back and I can look at, so if I go back to Sunday, then I can look at what I did on Sunday. I can go back. I mean, I started doing this a long time ago. So here's all the way back to November 14th. Like I can just go all the way back. So it keeps all of it.
Can you make it repeat one of those days?
So
Like
if you do the Pro, then the Pro app does allow you to pre-plan and do things like repeat meals, like you can, but the free app you can't. So the free app doesn't allow you to go ahead. But I can still, like they even have suggested menus. You can have it go in there and plan your day for you if you want to. I don't. And it's not worth it. I think it's like $50 a year for the Pro app. That's not worth it to me. I don't, what I need is just a place that I can log and get my macros for what I ate for the day so that I know I'm staying in the right range. So yeah.
Question.
Yes.
So can you add the 6 meals a day into that?
Yes.
I mean, I do my Fitness Pal and I keep track of it just for my information, but can you add the meals so that you can add your fuelings in that?
Yeah, so there is it will do like breakfast, lunch, dinner, and then you can just add, it'll have 2 snacks and you can add more because I always add the 6th one. And there's a barcode scanner, so a lot of the foods you could if you're going to use like Optavia fueling, you could scan the barcode and it probably will pull it up. I know I've done I've got the 2 maintenance bars that I have done a couple of times and scanned the barcode on those. And so those products are actually in the app already. The brownie is already in the app, and there are probably some other Optavia fuelings that are in there. I just never really used it when I was using any of the fueling, so I didn't really look.
Yeah.
But
I've enjoyed this. Thank you very much. I'm sick, so I kept myself because I'm coughing all the time. So I have a good Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
I'm Janice. I know you know who I am, but
yes,
just wanted to say hi.
Merry Christmas, Janice.
Thanks. I'm muting again.
Okay. Anybody else have questions?
Do you happen to know, I don't know if this was mentioned before, like I know the videos you were talking about with the LifeBook, the Elements, Habits of Health. I would kind of like an audiobook or something. And I think I asked my coach and I think she said there wasn't anything.
There's not.
So see, to me, I would love it if they did something like that for the Habits of Health.
Yeah.
No. Oh well.
Yeah, I think it's probably I don't know if it has to. I mean, I work for a company that is a publication, does publications, and a lot of times things that are digital are very difficult to control.
Hmm.
So it could have something to do with like copyright issues and just maintaining quality and it not getting into the wrong hands or being misconstrued. I don't know why they don't have it, but it's a awfully big book and it would be, I mean, like a regular novel, because I do audiobooks all the time, and just like a regular novel is, 14, 18, a Harry Potter novel is like 30 something hours. This thing
Mhm.
would probably be hundreds of hours to
Right.
read through. I mean, not the life book, but the Habits of Health.
Yep.
It'd be difficult to do the life book as as an audiobook. Because you really
That's
do.
just like, to me, the audiobooks sometimes come in handy. Like if you're on the road, I used to just pop a CD in. Now my car doesn't have a CD player, but
Yeah.
it is just, or if you're kind of cleaning the house or you're doing whatever up and around the house, it's nice to just pop something in so you can listen to it while you're.
I know there are a lot of podcasts. They're not like the book, so it's not like you can listen to the
Right.
book being read, but
I might
that's
have to look into.
I would look for just podcasts because I'm sure there are lots of them out there where they're discussing elements or they're discussing the habits of health or something that might be helpful.
Yeah.
Hi, Denise.
Okay.
Merry Christmas. Sorry that your sound's not working. Anybody else have anything?
They have the thing, I don't know if you guys have heard of the Hub. I put that in the chat, but it's
I've not.
called the Hub, and it's, if you Google the Hub Optavia, they have, let me get back to there. It's called the Opta Hub, and it has the LifeBook on the go.
Oh.
And this has element 1, element 2, element 3, and it's basically just, they're like podcasts and webinars.
Awesome.
And this is something that, if you want to listen to something while you're like sitting in the doctor's office, and has like, I think it goes up to element 8. But this is something that you could possibly, be able to use.
Thank you. I did see you post something, but I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know if that meant hubby or.
It's called the Opta. Oh, it's TheOptahub.com. The Opta Hub, and maybe it's just through my group that I'm in, the Goal Crushers group. But
no, I just found it on my phone.
Yeah. So, and it also has out there like the Lean and Green guide, some different guides out there for you to. Anyway, I always give this to my clients in case they want to listen to something while they're out and about, or.
Thank you.
And it's,
I'm gonna look into
like
that.
maybe if they're in their lunch break and they, instead of watching stuff on Facebook, they could be listening to stuff, on their lunch break doing this, things like this.
Right.
So.
That's awesome.
Right.
Thank you. That's a good one.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Anybody else? All right. We are going to meet again on January the 9th. And we're going to do element 14. So you got time to go through it. It's a much longer element. And if we need to spend more than one session talking about it, we can. We'll just kind of play it by ear. See how that goes.
I'm looking forward to studying that one. Element 14.
Getting into transition.
Yep.
And I know people are so afraid. Please don't be afraid of transition. Like those of you who are almost there, don't be afraid of it. It really is not. It's not scary. Like
I don't think I'm scared because I got you and I'm following in your footprints, your steps. So I think you're encouraging me to want to get there. And I wish I was already there, but I've still got a couple more months to go. But yeah, so
But
I'm excited. I'm excited.
good, because it's all been so worth it, and being in maintenance, I'm loving it, and I am happier than I've ever been, and looking forward to just continuing this lovely, healthy lifestyle.
I will say real quickly before we go, I've actually been talking to my son and my daughter about going skiing again, horseback riding, zip lining, to where before it was just a little over that weight limit that even though the zip liners say, oh no, you'll be good, you just kind of get scared. But it's been like, it's been like 10 years since I took the kids snow skiing. And I told my son, I'm like, now it's time to take the grandkids. We could do tubing. We could do, whatever. Now that I've lost this much weight, I'm looking forward to being that active again. So I'm looking forward. Hopefully in the next couple months, we'll be able to do that. That'll be fun.
Good.
As long as I don't break a bone.
No breaking bones.
Yeah.
No breaking bones at this age. That's one thing that scares me, because once it happens, there's other stuff that, no. So, but I'm looking forward to having fun again.
Good. Good. Well, you guys have a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and always reach out to me if you've got questions or you just need someone to hold your hand. Let me know.
Thank you. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year, everybody.
To.
Thanks again, Lizabeth.
You're welcome.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Bye.